Welcome to Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. I'm your host, Luke Darnell. While enjoying this podcast, please share it out on your social media and also be sure to like the podcast on the service of your choice. This week we have Brian Corbett from Smokin Skullies, who's been on a 12-month hot streak, including winning the 2021 Royal Oak Shootout. So please join me in welcoming Brian Corbett, and also a shout out to his boy Kendall. This podcast is brought to you by BarbecueData.com. BarbecueData.com is your one-stop shop for all of your barbecue competition data. Historical data, calls, wins, placements, everything under one roof. It's a great way not only to track yourself in the standings, but also to track how you improve your scores from year to year. Listeners of this podcast can receive 20% off of a new subscription to BarbecueData.com with the code PITPOD. That's one word, all capital letters, PITPOD, PITPOD. So check your team scores, check on others, and do it all on BarbecueData.com. All right, we're here with a very good friend of mine, Brian Corbett from Smokin Skullies. How are you, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Hope you are, Luke. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. This is not your first time on the show.
No, I was actually had the luxury or privilege, whatever you want to call it, of being on here with our good friend Matt Greiner after we had the TV show on the Moonshiners Smoke Ring.
That's right. Probably since about then, or maybe even a little before that, you've been on what we like to call a little bit of a heater.
Yeah, in the poker world, that's what we call a heater. Yeah. I've had a good last 12 calendar months from now. Yeah.
Yeah, and nice win this weekend at Jimbo's in Stem, North Carolina. It was very cool to see. And
yep.
And I'm staring at your Royal Oak check from last fall.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But it's been good because I think we started cooking right around the same time. If I recall, we started in either 12 or 13. I want to say it was 13. It was about the same time though, right?
Yeah, it was about the same time. My very first contest was in April of 2011 in Edenton, North Carolina. And, funny story about that is people always ask me how I got into barbecue. And I love tailgating football games, concerts, children's soccer games. I didn't care, man. We love tailgating, cooking out, hanging out, music, beverage, whatever. And for whatever reason, one fall in Saturday in October, there was not a football game for us to go to. East Carolina was playing away. North Carolina was playing away. And my wife said, her brother was cooking a barbecue contest in Rocky Mount. And she said, let's go over there and check it out. And I was like, well, we ain't got nothing else better to do. And I went over there and I was like, whoa, they're tailgating barbecue. And I asked him, I was like, when do y'all get here? And he said, Thursday. And I was like, when are you leaving? He said, Sunday. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that you get to tailgate for like 3 or 4 straight days and all you have to do is cook a little bit of barbecue? And he said, yeah, not quite like that, but similar. I see how you get it. And I was like, well, I got to look into this. And I did. Started cooking some barbecue at the house, messing around. I found a contest in Edenton, North Carolina. And I said, man, there will be nobody there. So if I get my butt kicked and finish dead last, and however this thing is judged or scored, I don't know. But if I finish last, nobody will know it. And the first 2 people I saw when I pulled up were Stuffy Stone and Myron Mixon. And I literally had to kind of tap the horn for them to separate for me to pull through. I called my buddies who were, a couple hours behind me from leaving. And I said, well, you remember those guys we see on TV? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, 2 of them are here. I had to beat the horn to get them to separate talking so I could get in. And they were like, oh, okay. So finished 6th in pork and 4th in ribs that contest, man. That was the hook. That was the most expensive 2 calls of all time. Oh my God. Yes. 11 years later, here I am. Yep.
I tell people all the time, they're like, what was the best thing about your first 2 calls? I was like, well, that I got them. I was like, but those 2 calls cost, I don't even know, probably 6 figures at this point.
Probably. I don't even want to calculate it. If I could go back and calculate it, I would not want to.
And you've been, since we've known each other, which has been pretty much the whole time I've been cooking.
Yeah.
And, you've gone through some gear. You've
I have. Yeah, I
I've
have. Yeah.
I've seen you with just about every different cooker out there.
Man, I like to play golf. And I know you do as well. And when you got a hobby that you're addicted to, you kind of get some of that shiny object syndrome. And and I like to tinker sometimes, man. And so I've cooked on quite a few cookers over the years. Yeah.
I mean, gosh, I remember 270. I think you did that for not that long. You had Backwoods for a little bit. You had
Deep South.
Deep South.
Yeah, the BQ grills right here in Elm City. They made a smoker for a year or two. I cooked on it for a couple of years. That's what I got my first win on.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Now it's an outlaw.
Now it's an outlaw. I've been on the outlaw 3 years. I don't see this one changing though. I don't see this one changing.
No, I got to cook out in outlaw country this past weekend out in Indiana.
Oh yeah, yeah, you did.
And
Jay was there.
He was there, and It's funny because he and I like talk all the time, and I send him people looking for offsets all the time, and
right.
For some reason, I mean, now Kim and I were there for a total of about 9 hours in the cook site. We got there late Friday, prepped, left, came back, cooked, left right after turn-ins. And he sent me a message. He's like, man, I'm really sorry we didn't get to meet and hang out. And I was like, yeah, I am too, but I'm kind of glad too, because I know you'd probably talk me into another pit.
Jay's probably a better salesman than he gives himself credit for. But man, he's a really cool dude. I can shoot him a text message just about at any point in time, and man, the response is quick. If I've just got a quick question, or hey man, contact, like kind of like you, hey, this guy here is looking at this. He's gonna be calling you guys,
right?
He's got some questions about switching this up, or But if I've got some questions, I mean, back when I first got mine, I mean, just learning how to manage a fire on an offset stick burner, and who better to go to than the guy that built it, right? So,
right.
So if I ever wanted to hit him up with a couple of questions, even now, and if I do well at a contest, he'll shoot me a text and say, "Man, you're killing it," And my outlaw pit is actually the first one he ever sold. Wow. It's the second one he ever built, if I'm not mistaken, but it's the first one he ever sold. Yep. Not to me. I'm the third owner, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's pretty cool. I think I saw the first ever pit this weekend in Indiana.
Oh, really?
I think so. And I can't remember the team's name, and please forgive me, guys, because I know you listen. But they showed it to me, and they were like, "This is the very first one, that came off." And yeah, I mean, I was surrounded by them this weekend, but I held my own in the Jambo. I did all right.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I've cooked on both of them, and no, I've never owned a Jambo, but I've cooked on a Jambo. When I cooked, I've been Mutt and I, Brian Turner with Muttley Crew, Shannon's pit dude.
It's fair to call him a pit bitch. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, hey, but he and I have cooked on the Outlaw together. We've cooked on his Jambo. He's got a Jambo and Outlaw. We've cooked on that together, and it's just fire management. That's what it's about. Just fire management. So,
right, and that's for years coming up with the people that we came up with and everything. I was always told, you do not have the mentality or the discipline to run a stick burner, and it's really hard, and you got to pay a lot of attention. And I was scared of it for a long time. I mean, I was told that by a lot of people. And then I bought one and I cooked on it once, and I said, okay, well, this myth has been busted, because this is about the damn easiest pit to run in the world.
It's when you figure out how to run that clean fire, there's nothing to it. And I had, so backstory, some good friends of mine who cooked barbecue at the time, I met them through barbecue. They won the contest in Rocky Mount in 2012 or 13. I think it was 12. And then I went to the American Royal with them the following year, and my job was to cook pork. Well, they cooked on a Lang 60 or 84, I can't remember, but it was so freaking cold at the Royal, And that uninsulated firebox, man, it felt like we were just feeding that thing sticks. And I said that after we left that weekend cooking that double, I was like, I will never own a stick burner, never. And a couple years go by, 3 or 4 years ago, 4 years ago, I think it was, Brian Turner called me and he was like, hey, man, do you want to go do this Ironman in Pennsylvania?
That's right. I remember that.
And I was like, what's the Ironman? And it was, where you cook one brisket, one butt, one rack of ribs, and 7 pieces of chicken, I think. Yep. Is all you're even legally allowed to have in your cook site. And really cool contest. And I was like, yeah, man, let's go do that. So he cooked 2 meats. I cooked 2 meats. And he had just bought my Outlaw. It was his. And he said, we'll take that because you can't have any electronics, no fans, no gurus, no anything. And I was like, all right, man, we'll figure it out. And I sat out there with that thing all morning, Saturday morning, and I was like, And he was talking about getting a new Outlaw. So we finished, I think, 3rd at the contest.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we left, and we weren't probably 5 miles from the Ironman on Saturday night on a drive back. We're probably about 5 miles. And I was like, hey, man, you know how you're talking about selling that pit? He's like, yeah. I said, you're not gonna. I'm buying it. It will not go up for sale. When you get ready, it's mine. And he was like, you got a deal. And I never thought I'd like it, but I'm kind of like you, man. Once you cook on one of those insulated fireboxes, it's just like, this is a game changer. It's easy.
Right, and the flavor difference as compared to a gravity or a water cooker like a backwoods. I mean, and you and I were both successful in both those type of pits.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's just something about the flavor, and there's something about it that's a touch romantic cooking on something like that. I mean, it really is. It's.
I think live fire cooking is a bit sexy myself.
Well, this turned weird real quick.
But man, I think you could literally cook on anything and win. I mean, day two in Urbana, Virginia. I mean, Uncle Pig's barbecue pit. We were both there. I mean, those guys rocked out a 710 on a Deep South and a pellet smoker of some sort. I think it's a Traeger, if I'm not mistaken.
And a Gateway.
And a Gateway. I mean, they cover everything but a stick burner, and they walked the dog on everybody that day. So I think, it's what you get used to, what you get locked into, and what you can really, instead of focusing on trying to keep your cook going, you're focusing on finishing your meat, getting it tender. I mean, whatever you feel comfortable with is what you need to cook on.
Right, and that's the number one rule is know thy cooker. I mean,
yes. Mm-hmm.
You gotta know how it responds to certain things, and I kind of find like cooking on the jambos and the offsets that every jambo I've cooked on, which at this point is in like 11 or 12 different ones, they're all the same. They all react the same. They all behave the same, and I know what I need to do if I need to pull something out of my hat. I know how to do it. Now, I'm not saying I know all the tricks, but
No, but you know how to adjust if it's colder, hotter, the wind's blowing one direction versus the other. There's some little tricks there that you learn, and if you learn them, it makes life a heck of a lot easier. Take out that variable is like, I tried to do the same thing as last week and it just didn't work. I try not to ever want to say that if we can. And if my biggest variable is just playing the wind, it's like playing golf, man. If you play the wind right, you can score well regardless of the conditions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I love how each cook is different.
Oh, they all are. Yeah.
Yeah.
They all are. They're none the same.
Right. And that's a lot of fun that, you have to react and you have to play the conditions, and that's what makes it fun. I mean, this past weekend, my ribs were off. They were off and in the Cambro at, I don't know, 10:30, 10:40, something like that. I mean, 45 minutes to almost an hour earlier than what they normally are. And there was nothing done differently with the pit, with the ribs, with, anything. It was, I went to go I put my probe in and
And it started sounding off immediately. And I was like, well, let me check these things. Maybe I was touching the outside of the bone or something. And I opened up the foil and I was like, yeah, they're done. It is what it is, man. You don't leave them in there just because you got to do something with them. And I had to figure it out. And I must have. I finished first, but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
you just got to kind of change with it. You got to roll with it.
Right. So you talked about, learning different tricks and things. So where do you get your assistance from? Who do you call on when you got questions about whether it's the offset or if you're having problems with the meat? Like what's your support system like?
Oh man, my number one go-to, Brian Turner, Motley Crue. He and I talk weekly. And it could be, it doesn't have to be about barbecue. It could be about anything. He's probably my number one person. I know, not probably, he is my number one person I go to. I talk to Matt Griner a lot. He and I were on that TV show together, and he and I, took Jim Burke's class way back in the day, I think in 2013 together. That's where I met him. And, so we become very good friends. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to give some of my first place rib credit to Matt Griner this past weekend, because after day 2 in Urbana, I think I had 33rd ribs, but it was still like a 170. But I texted him on Monday, and I was like, dude, this rib roller coaster is up and down, up and down. He said, I have no doubt you'll figure it out. And then we ended up on the phone, and we were just kind of talking through a couple things. And, he kind of clued me in on something that I forgot, just something simple. And I was like, dang, man, I've been forgetting to do that, I think. And so I, did it this weekend, and, so it worked out. But those two dudes are probably my number one. I've had my fair share of conversations with you, Mr. Luke. You and I have kind of bounced a few ideas off each other, and, either at contest or, there's been times when I've called you and I'm like, hey, dude, you got to help a brother out, man. You got to help a brother out. I'm missing something here. What's up? Let's talk through it. And, so, those two guys, outside of that, man, there's just a couple people here and there I might hit up every now and again. And, but here in North Carolina, there's a lot of teams, man. So
yeah,
you find yourself around a solo stove on Thursday night a whole lot. And, you can kind of bounce some ideas off everybody. And I'm an open book. I don't mind helping anybody out.
You gonna tell everybody what little thing you're forgetting on ribs?
Well, yeah, sure, I will. It's super simple, and some people are going to sit there and roll their eyes and be like, "Yeah, that's not it." But man, I was taking my ribs off, and I was going straight to the camera with them. And Matt was like, "When'd you quit venting them?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Venting them, so they stopped cooking for 15, 20, 30 seconds, minute, whatever. That's what I've been doing. That's what you did it too." And I was like, holy shit, like, yeah. So because I've been getting mushy comment cards, slightly overcooked, and I'm like, when I'm pulling them off, they're not. I don't understand it. Well, they're sealed tight, going right into that hot box, and
they're still going
to where? Who knows where?
Right.
And I'm slicing them, and I'm like, man, what in the world is going on? And so then I was trying to undercook them, and I'm trying to figure out what they're doing. And so this weekend I opened them up and I was like, yep, they're perfect. And I let them vent for 30, 40 seconds and then shut them back down. And there they went. And when I sliced them, I was like,
Isn't it funny? It's, I rolled this weekend without a camera because we took just the pickup in the pit. We cooked out of a U-Haul.
Right on, dude.
Yeah. We were going to pop up it. Then we looked at the weather and it said snow, blowing 30. And I'm like, well, okay.
We need a trailer or something.
Right. So we got to Indianapolis, drove down to the U-Haul, got a box truck, came down, set up 2 tables in the box truck, a little propane disc heater.
Yep.
And Kim goes, so what's your proposal on when meat comes off? She's like, because you didn't bring a camera. I was like, oh, okay. you know. And I just got to thinking about it, and the ribs generally I don't even put them in there anymore.
Yeah.
I was screwing around with this pork thing, and it wasn't going in there. The brisket, I think, is better without putting it in there, so I went without it this weekend, and everything seemed to work out a little bit. It was.
Yeah. I think a
I
lot of us get trapped in a box. I guess pun intended on the hot box. But a lot of times we're prone to get trapped into a box that something has to do this or that or the other because we did it one time and it worked, or because you see somebody else do it that might be doing well, and you're like, oh my God, I've got to smoke my tinfoil. And
right.
you know what I'm saying? You say, and that I've got to do that, and you don't know why. You don't know why they're doing it. Why, what it is, what it does for you, and there's no telling how many times I've been guilty of it. You've been guilty of it. You just said it. You might put something in the Cambro that's perfect, and when you come out, you're like, well, I guess I overcooked it. Well, I mean, you didn't. The Cambro did.
Right.
I mean. I'm not knocking a Cambro by any stretch. I mean, we all have them, we all use them, and we probably should more than we shouldn't. But just because you have one sitting there, if your brisket is overcooked, doesn't mean you put it in that hot box. You've got to salvage it somehow, and learning those little things is can make a big difference in your end results.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better, man. Like, you gotta, one of those things that you just mentioned, the people that talk about the shiny side of foil and the other side of foil.
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
I've had several people ask me that. They're like, when you wrap, do you do that and you do this? And I go, when it comes out of that roller, how it lands on my board is exactly the side that's up. I couldn't tell you. Hell, I didn't even know there was a shiny and a dull side until somebody brought it to my attention.
Right. It's not like we're reflecting sunlight and sending secret signals across the campsite.
No,
it's just holding heat in. It's all it's doing.
That's all it's doing. Holding heat, holding moisture. That's the only thing it's doing. Yeah.
That's my favorite.
I'm not insulating my house with it. Yeah.
No, I do that shit in class. I tell people I only cook left briskets off a cow because all cows are right-handed. So and people just look at me.
They're writing it down fast.
You see 2 or 3 people write it down, you're like, geez, man, gosh.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what we've created with all these classes and every little step and everything. And
it is, yeah.
And I mean, it's made barbecue better, in my opinion, in that, if you know what you're doing and you know how to cook and you can go out there and get started in that manner, it's keeping people in the game a lot longer, I think.
I think 100%. And it's keeping new teams that take the time out in the beginning and go take a good class. Their learning curve is tremendously corrected. And it allows them to enjoy this hobby more. Yeah. You don't have to win to enjoy it, but it is nice to hear your name called, and keep that fire going, in you to improve your cook. If you get a call in ribs, if you get a call in pork, and you're close in chicken, it's like, oh man, I got to, Tuesday night, honey, we're eating chicken for dinner. Just FYI, I'm cooking a pan of chicken, and I've got an idea I want to try. I mean, but classes have really, really improved this, what some people call a sport of barbecue.
Hobby.
Yeah, it's a hobby. It's a hobby any way you shake it. So, yeah, it's a hobby any way you shake it.
Yeah, I love it. I love when people retire. I'm like, you can't retire from a hobby. You just find a different hobby.
Yeah. You just quit showing up.
Right.
Yeah, it's not that your contract was up and that you didn't get a new one. Like, you just quit showing up.
Right. I played golf today in Cleveland with Rick. And oh yeah?
I got a big match coming up in May I got to get ready for.
Yes, you do. Maybe a 2-day event. Well, what'd you shoot? I gotta know.
I shot 80.
Oh, okay. I shot 85 with 3 doubles.
I had one double, three birdies, 42, 38.
3 birdies. Look at this nonsense. All right.
And I had three birdies.
I'll
I
keep
got lucky
practicing.
though. I couldn't tell you the last time I had three birdies in a round, to be honest.
Well, I'll have to get to the range a little bit more here in the next 3, 4 weeks.
Did I say 80? I meant 90.
Yeah, that just cost you a couple shots, is what that did. Uh,
Oh,
let's get into some rituals and stuff. I know that you aren't superstitious at all, are you?
oh Jesus. Yeah. I mean, I've been a sports fan my whole life. I've played sports my whole life. It's part of my competitive drive that I have in this hobby of ours, in golf and fishing, and invent a game today. And I might not be good at it, but I'm going to be competitive with it. So, I mean, I don't feel like you can be a big sports fan, a big athlete, anything without having some sort of superstition. So I do have some that I don't like to share, but
No?
yeah, well, I mean,
You got to give us one, Brian.
um,
Then I'm going to share one of my observations, but I'm not
start
going
with
to.
your observation. Let's
I'll
start with your
start with my
observation.
observation.
Okay.
I know when you've had a good one if I don't see you between turn-ins and awards. If I don't see you, I know that the King of Myrtle Beach has come for us.
That's that is one of my superstitions. If I feel like I've had a good one, I will hunker down in my trailer, take me a nap, clean up. You won't see me outside, talking to a bunch of people, shaking hands, hugging babies, all that kind of good stuff. That is one of my things. Yeah, now there's going to be people sitting outside my trailer. Yeah,
You didn't have to confirm it. That was your own
yeah,
choice.
yeah. Well, it's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. I think I've got there's. This is foolish. This is just a superstitious thing, right? So, the white cotton gloves we all wear underneath our
Yeah.
latex. Um, it's kind of like having your lucky socks or your lucky underwear or whatever, playing basketball or something. If I have a really, really good cook and the results prove it, not just because I thought so, but the results prove that I had a really, really good cook, they come home, they get washed, they go back in the box with my rubs and stuff, and then they get used again at the next cook-off. If I have a really, really bad cook, they're the first thing in the trash can when the cook's over. Like, if I just completely crap the bed on this deal, those white cottons are gone. I can't wear those anymore. It's the bad luck tie for basketball coaches. It's like, yep, this one's not
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Man,
So
that's not. See what
yeah.
happens when I do this podcast and I hear stupid shit like this is that I will then go do that in the next contest. Be like, well, piss on this and I'll throw him away. And Kim will be like, well, why'd you do that? I thought, well, Brian brought it up on the last podcast. So, it's like Bobby Stanfield got on here and I said, what's so superstition? He's like, I have to take each of my knives and I have to run them over the hone 21 times.
Oh my.
And I was like, okay. So, like, the next 5 contests, I'd go out and hit 21. And Kim's like, what are you doing? I'm like, now I've adjusted up to 30. So now I do 30 on the hone. But, and I just use it as a meditation time. But yeah, I pick up more bullshit from you guys, and then I'm like, well, that seems like a good idea. I'm surprised I didn't do that before.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty good, man. Those are both really good, and the one is one that because I do take notice. I do like
you called me out on that in Myrtle Beach last year.
Yep.
And you're the first person in years that has ever noticed it. And Myrtle Beach in March of last year, I won, and you came over to the trailer, and you knocked on the door, and Ashley went to the door, and you were like, "Where's Scully?" And she was like, "Oh, he's taking a nap." And he was like, "You come over there, I think, twice, and then at awards, you looked at me halfway through, and you like, oh, you had a good one, didn't you?"
Because Ashley was selling that shit too. She was like, "Yeah, he wasn't too happy. He just went to sleep." And I'm like, "This is some bullshit."
And you were like, "You had a good one, didn't you?" And I was like, "Shh."
Oh, those Myrtle Beach contests were fun.
Oh, they were. They were.
But I think that's, when we talk about barbecue, and you mentioned your first time going to Rocky Mountain, and the guy was like, "We get there Thursday, we leave Sunday." I think you guys and Mutts and, and we try to do it as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really, bringing barbecue back to the way it used to be when we started, and people getting there.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important.
When you started, I mean, everybody was in, 10 by 10 easy up tents. You had your equipment sitting on a lawn care trailer. I mean, you were out there, and there was more camaraderie back then in barbecue, I think, and than what there is now. And I'll give KCBS some credit, MABA some credit, with them really focusing on backyard starting 2-3 years ago. They started bringing some of that camaraderie back because the energy was back from those guys that were new, and a lot of them didn't and don't have trailers that they're hunkered in, and they're not talking to anybody, and they're scared to death somebody's going to see their shaker of smoking guns hot. You know what I mean, or whatever. Like, oh my God, I got a jar of Blues Hog here. I don't want anybody to see my secret sauce. That energy was back. And we really saw that Thursday night in Urbana. I mean, it seemed like there was 300 teams there, and there probably weren't 35 at the time on Thursday night. But everybody was mingling and out and, just having a great time, man. And to me, that's what a lot of barbecue is about. I mean, we go and we cook barbecue, and our competitive nature wants to do well, and we spend a bunch of money, and so you want to do well because of that. But just the camaraderie, that the friendships that barbecue has brought me in my life has been tremendous. And that's what I love about Thursday nights and Saturday nights. Friday night's kind of getting down to business a little bit, but Thursday night and Saturday night is just fun.
Thursday nights go out someplace and have a blast. It's always
have a blast. That's exactly right. Yep.
Always a great time. So when you hear the word successful in barbecue, whose names pop into your mind first?
The first name is probably Tuffy Stone and Myron Mixon. To see what those two guys have done with barbecue. When you say barbecue, I think about the whole gamut of barbecue. When you think about, I mean, if you narrowed it down to contest, I could argue both of those guys in that conversation as well. But when you see what they've done with barbecue as a whole, for such a long period of time, it's really, really impressive to see the commitment to their brand and to barbecue and their continuation in the love of barbecue. It's not just about their brand. I mean, those two guys really do love barbecue. So those two guys are the first ones to come to mind. There's many, many more, but those are the first two to come to mind.
And they've really done a great job as ambassadors for the hobby and for what we all do in terms of and applying that to people in the backyard, which is, I think, at the end of the day, teaching people how to cook better food in their backyard is really where we're all going anyway. And, it's, and I know that you've taught before and you've helped out a bunch of people. And I think, it's given that part back that is where we really make the most change in what we do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've taught one little private class, and with a couple teams came and did kind of a one-on-one deal, and that was a lot of fun. And to see them get their name called, man, it's so exciting. And then I've done some other classes up there at Grill Billy's Barbecue Supply in Wendell, Joe's been nice enough to have us over there, Matt and I, and do ribs and brisket. And that's just been a lot of fun. And, a lot of guys that don't even care to compete come to those things. And, man, those are the ones that sometimes are the most excited to be there. And you get the best questions. And teaching barbecue outside of classes is probably, I've done more of that than anything. I've never done a big class per se where, like, I know you've done quite a few classes and been quite successful with them. And obviously Brad and Tim and Joe Pierce and those guys and has done great. I've never done any of those. But just being in my community, I get texts all the time. Hey man, I'm thinking about doing my first brisket. Can you give a brother some help? I don't want to screw it up real bad. I'm doing a brisket for the first time for my kid's birthday party. And I'm like, we'll step right off into that, huh?
Wrong choice.
Yeah. So, I've helped so many people that way. And it's always so cool, man, to get that text message, that picture, and they're just unbelievably excited at how good it is. And, whether it's good by my standards or not, it's not important. But it's good by theirs and their family, and that's so awesome to me.
Yeah, man. No, that's the best. And we've talked a lot about the camaraderie and the changes in competition barbecue, and I'm going to try and recreate a conversation that you and I had recently.
Uh-oh.
And, because there's some teams out there and some people in competition barbecue that they really get zoned in on, okay, what's the entry fee and what's the prize purse? And, well, I'm not going to go there because this prize purse is X.
Yeah.
And you and I got to talking one day, I think it was at Barbecue Gives Back, and I asked you, I said, when's the last time you looked at a prize purse? And you were like, I don't remember the last time I looked at a prize purse, because it does not even factor in whether I go to a contest or not.
It's zero consideration in whether or not I sign up and show up at that contest. Zero consideration. I don't look. I don't ever see it. If the intro email they send out has it, first of all, I'm not good at reading those emails. Just ask Brian and Shannon Turner. They'll shoot me a text on Thursday morning. They'll be like, "Hey, dude, don't forget the potluck tomorrow night." I'm like, "Crap, was there a potluck?" That's in the email. But stuff like that. But if it's not part of their marketing scheme where it's like the biggest thing that they use, I don't ever look. I could care less. I don't go there for the prize purse. I go there to cook good barbecue. I go there to kick everybody's butt and then have a laugh with them before and after. And more times than not, I get my butt kicked, so.
Because that's what it's about. It's
100%. These people that, to each his own, right?
No, man, I agree 100%. Like,
I'm back now.
People bring it up to me all the time, and they look at me like I should care or know the answer. Like, they always ask me, "Do you know what the prize purse is?" No, man, I don't. If I cared about prize purses, I wouldn't have driven to Indianapolis on Friday all day to cook a contest and then leave first thing Saturday. I went to Indiana because there's a bunch of people there that I hadn't seen in a long time. It was a new state for me and Kim. It was our 29th state that we've cooked in.
Yep.
And that's important to us, and that's why we went and did it. And we try and get a new state every year. And I just remember that conversation that you and I had, and I was like, this is some good shit for the podcast, because it doesn't matter. If you want to cook it, cook it.
It doesn't matter. And the same thing with the jack draw. Now I do pay attention to the jack draw if it's a jack qualifier. That I do pay attention, but I will say this: I would go cook a contest that was not a jack qualifier, as long as it was still a case to be a sanctioned contest. And there are a lot of teams that have never won that will not go cook a 13-team contest because it's not a jack qualifier. And I'm like, but I sit there and think to myself, but you've never won a contest, and I'm not, would it suck to win one and not be but you're not an auto, it's not an automatic into it. So go win. I'd rather win than,
go win, go get an experience of a cook under your belt.
you qualify for the Royal. It's not like you get nothing.
Right.
I mean, I mean, it's not like you get nothing here. I mean, you're going to the World Series of barbecue. You know that I don't know. It just there's certain things that people look at whenever they're trying to decide if they want to go cook a contest or not. That just kind of make me scratch my head a little.
Yeah. I mean, my number one concern is, can I?
Yeah,
Like, do
that's
I
right.
have the number? Do I have the time? Number two, are there going to be
Yep.
friends there, or are there going to? That's a big concern. Or is there going to be a bunch of people there who I haven't met yet? Because that's cool
Right.
too. And
Exactly. Yep.
I love both things. I got to meet some cool dudes in Indiana this weekend. Some guys that I've only known online, and
Mm-hmm.
and it was just it was a lot of fun, man. It was we had a snowball fight on Saturday morning because of the blizzard that rolled through, and it was just a stupid good time, man. And it just made me think of that conversation that you and I had a couple
Yep.
weeks prior. So,
Yep.
wow, man, we've already talked for 40 minutes.
I think we could talk for 2 hours and 40 minutes if we wanted to.
I agree. And I think I asked you two of my questions, which is awesome.
Oh, good.
But you know that I can't let you off the hook on the quick fires.
Oh boy. Okay. Hit me with them.
All right. What do you see about barbecue on social media that upsets or bothers you?
I think it's probably been said on this podcast before, but the complaints on judges scoring and wanting justification through social media on taste and tenderness scores based on a picture.
Right.
And I mean, I can lick my phone all I want to, but I can't taste what your chicken was. I mean, does it look good? Yes. Did you get all nines? You probably did. And your score sheet that you've also posted shows it. But they dinged you on taste or tenderness, man. And I mean,
I
you can't
can't
make that
judge it.
determination on here. And that's a kind of a pet peeve of mine. I don't like that. That and squishing the brisket.
We, dude, we went to this barbecue joint in Cleveland tonight, and we had brisket, and Rick was like, "You want me to squish it?" And I'm like, "No, do not squish it."
Do not squish it. I'm just like, wait, are you trying to say it's moist? Because really that's just fat you're squeezing out between the point and the flat. It has
Right.
nothing to do with how good that brisket is. I don't know. Those are probably my two biggest pet peeves online with social media in relation to barbecue.
All right, I think I know the answer to this next one, but I'm gonna ask it. What is one of your favorite pre, during, or post competition meals?
Ooh. Uh, Mexican food on Saturday night. A lot of times the Motley Crew and others, if they're around, we go do Mexican food. That's one of my biggest. And then I love a Klondike bar right after brisket turning.
I did not know that. I knew
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Mexican food, and I was also going to put chicken wings in there. But
Oh, now chicken wings I could eat 3 times a day and 4 times on Sunday. Yep. I can always eat chicken wings. But rarely at a barbecue contest do people want to go get a bunch of chicken wings.
uh,
But Mexican food is always down, and every town seems to have a halfway decent Mexican restaurant. So
that's
usually a pretty
true.
safe bet.
All right. Do you have a favorite present that you like to give to people?
Love, man. No, I don't know.
Wow, it just got weird again.
Yeah, that's what I like. I like to keep it almost in the weird zone pretty much all the time.
That's fun.
Um,
That's fun.
no, I don't. I don't really have a go-to present, if you will. I should probably get one.
I do the
Hmm.
underwear thing. It's a lot of fun because it is
Yeah,
weird.
it is weird. I should probably. Yeah, I should definitely get one.
Uh,
I'm gonna have to really focus more on that.
there you go. All right, last one. If you could have a
Okay.
gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, getting the message out to millions or billions of people, what would it say and why?
Slow down and enjoy the ride. This world
Right.
has gotten fast, man. I think everybody's just everything is such a rush, and part of that's created by social media and access to everything. And quite honestly, that's the part I love about barbecue is, man, I mean, you just you chill, and
You
slow
have
down and
to
enjoy the ride. Life is too short.
you have to slow down. You have to think about
Have
what
to.
you're doing, and you have to take those steps. And that can apply to just about anything that you're doing in your life. Take a minute, take a
Yep.
breath, pull
Yep.
your head out of your
Slow down and
ass,
enjoy the ride.
think about what you're
Yeah.
going to do. Yep.
Yep. They're gonna put us all in a box one day, man. We're not taking anything with us, and just about every elderly person I encounter, if you ask them, they will give you some advice to that. If you want to go do something, do it. Take the vacation, eat the pizza, enjoy it. Play that game of basketball with your kid, even when you're busy. Whatever the scenario is, they just about all can look back at their life and give me that advice.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, slow down and enjoy the ride, man. I think that's what mine would be. Slow down and enjoy the ride. Sincerely, Scully.
Well, Brian, it's been a pleasure, man. Where can people find you online?
Instagram is at Smokin Skullies without the G. Facebook, I have the Smokin Skullies barbecue page. I have my personal page, Brian Corbett, spelled with an I in Brian the correct way, and Corbett, Corbett.
The correct.
There's a lot of people that misspell their first name with a Y. I don't get it, but whatever. Maybe your parents were just freaking morons. I don't know. But no, just kidding. But yeah, Instagram and Facebook, man, that's probably the two best places to find me online.
Sweet.
And I try to stay pretty active on there, post pictures, post results. If people ask a question, I'm gonna answer it.
Yep.
You may not like it, but I'll answer.
Yep, and keep your eye on that top 10 of the KCBS standings, folks, because someone just cracked her in there this weekend. So,
did I crack in there?
I believe you did.
Oh wow! Okay, I need to go check that out.
Yep, and I don't think you're going to see him leave it. So,
man, I hope not. I was actually looking at the schedule the other day. I think in June right now, I don't have a single contest on the books. That may have to change. So I may have to. I'm a geographical cook, man. I'm a 5-hour dude, man. If it's more than 5 hours, I don't like to go, and I may have to alter that a little bit.
Hey, you got to ride her till she bucks you, buddy.
Hey, yeah. It's been a fun ride the last year and a half or so, and hopefully it'll last a little longer. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun, and let's go.
Yes,
let's do it.
All right, brother. We'll see you here in a couple of weeks, man.
Yeah, man. Later.
Thank you for listening to Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. Be sure to subscribe and like the podcast, rate the podcast, and to share it out with your friends. Also, be sure to check out the Old Virginia Smoke TikTok as well. Old Virginia Smoke, one word. That's all you have to search for. It's hilarious. Tune in next week for another great episode of Pitmaster. For companies interested in advertising, please contact Old Virginia Smoke directly via www.oldvirginiasmoke.com. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is edited by Chris Sedanka. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is a property of Old Virginia Smoke LLC. All rights reserved. Copyright 2022.